Well, the opening minute, of course, will be, I think it'll be key to how we move forward. Conceding an early goal against what we can, effectively class as one of our post-season challengers now. They've obviously made that happen today with their draw. It leaves you in an extremely difficult place against good teams to try and recover. And whilst I felt as though we took a grip of the game a little bit more as the game unfolded in the first period, and of course going in from Hany's exquisite free kick,
recording in progress,
gave everyone a massive lift. But we'll always keep coming back to the fact that conceding first in this league, as in a lot of leagues around the world, always puts you in a very difficult place. Our statistics, again, like a lot of teams, are very, very good when we score first. And I think that's a world that we need to be getting back to as quickly as we possibly can. But New York are a tough team. They've been on a terrific run. They've made life incredibly difficult for a lot of teams. They've had some wonderful results in the last 6 or 8 weeks. And today was always going to be one of those extremely tough encounters. And I thought we did a very, very good job of competing. We did a fairly decent job of managing the game with the ball. There were some nice moments. However, chances were at a premium. And when they're at a premium, you've just got to be a little bit more clinical. And we weren't clinical enough to win the game.
Thank you, Gary. We'll start with Drake Hills, and we'll go down to Tim Sullivan. Go ahead, Drake.
Yeah, Gary, looking ahead, obviously with Orlando being the opponent, the first two here, the fact that you were able to get out in front, is there something that you can at least understand about going into the next couple of weeks preparing for them that will at least help you maybe take off some of that worry about how you guys start games?
Honestly, when you look at the teams that are in the playoff picture now, there's no easy game. If you look at the fact that for a long period of time, very few points have covered multiple teams. There was never going to be an easy fixture here, but the most important thing is there is a fixture here. And at home, we're unbeaten in our regular campaign, which is a very proud statistic that we'll all take with us, and we'll not leave the history books now, which is wonderful for the fans, for the players, for the organisation. To your point, of course there are some things that we can feel good about, but what we know is that the game will be extremely tight. There's not been an awful lot between the teams when we've met in the past. I do think that there's going to be a slightly different emotional challenge across the course of this international break. I think both teams will be looking at players that they're missing to international duty and holding their breath. We'll also have more time either to prepare or to lose any momentum or any feel-good factor that there might be, and we truly go into that you might normally suggest is a one-off occasion that you're either through or you're out and move on. It couldn't be any more cut and dried than that. It is a very different season within a season now, and you may find yourself, of course, staying in that for a longer period, or you could be very quickly, after longer than a 2-week period out, you can find yourself on your holidays very sharpish. Lots and lots for us to look at and to prepare for, but to begin with, the guys will get a little bit of a break and then we'll get back to work.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, when you see Hany standing over a free kick, even when it's from such a tight angle, is it almost an expectation at this point that he has that moment of brilliance and scores the goal?
He's such a talented individual, and I know I've said this before, but he works tirelessly at those dead ball situations. That's not an easy finish from that angle. There's a hell of a lot to do, and it's those inspirational moments that have really, given us some terrific opportunities this year. my hope, of course, and I'm sure his when he scored, was that would galvanise the group into a victorious position. But it wasn't to be today. I certainly don't think we should dismiss the fact that we've had a wonderful season. There can always be a little bit of dejection when you, of course, want to win a home game and finish on that ultra positive note. But it's been a wonderful season. The guys have been incredibly consistent, and the simple analogy as you look at the league table will be, how do we turn some of those draws into victories? New England have done it to a wonderful degree. What are the slight differences and the changes that we can make to turn a record-breaking season for us into something that can be even better?
We'll go down the line. We'll go to Claudia. Then
Gary, you mentioned the fact that having more time to prepare could be a positive factor, but also a momentum loser. To your experience, how to prevent, especially the second one, and at the same time, a team like Orlando. I mean, if I was Orlando, I don't want to come to Nashville for obvious reasons. I mean, it's very difficult to win here, even to score goals or whatever. How to make sure that the team takes really advantage of that in a game like this, and say, well, we don't only get unbeaten here, but this is what we need to do to beat them.
To win the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there'll be, probably the finest of details and moments and opportunities within the game that will certainly be the difference, I'm sure. Both teams have game changers. I've said it before, there's a lot of respect for what Orlando are about and how they play and the talent that they have. I'm sure that Oscar will be thinking exactly the same thing as me. Whoever goes away, come back safe, come back healthy and be ready for us. I'm sure there'll be guys that are part of the big picture for them. Certainly the guys we're losing to international duty, our mainline players. So first of all, you want your best group on the field. With your best group on the field, for us, I think, a good hard look at the early stages of the game again. Really, really uncomfortable with the way things went in the opening exchanges today, for obvious reasons. How do we get out of the blocks and into our stride as quickly as we possibly can, with what I'm sure will be a wonderful crowd again for that post-season game and that home playoff game here. And then, of course, in some really, really tight games that we've had against them, what are going to be the slight differences that we can affect to a greater degree that we haven't done in the past? We conceded first at their place, had a much, much better second half. We warmed into the game. We showed a far brighter and more creative side to us in the second period of the game in Orlando. And I'm sure they'll be aggrieved that they didn't win the game. I've seen loads of press about it, that they didn't win the game, but I think a lot of people there, when they were talking about the final moments, forgot all about the penalty that happened just after the break, and that's easily forgotten, of course, by the home team. I've done it myself. But tight games, you're looking for difference makers. You're looking for your MVPs, your Hanys, your Randalls, the individuals, the creators that can find those moments and make a big difference. Those players normally take you to a cup.
go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, Gary, the first time in 60 MLS matches we haven't seen Dave Romney. Can you just give an update on him and how he's looking?
Yeah, of course, really disappointed. Dave's just had a sore, grumbling Achilles that he's been managing, and it just looked yesterday in training that it was just a tad more uncomfortable than he has been, and I just didn't want to take any risks. We were assured of a home playoff game. I want Dave back, healthy and ready. Always a difficult decision to make because he's been such a stalwart for the group. But no serious damage, no issues really for Dave from what we can see yesterday. So, we've got a nice period of time now to get him right, get him ready and back in the action.
We'll wrap up with Tim Sollinger and go back to Dre.
It seemed like the the game really opened up in the final maybe 20, 25 minutes there, was it just kind of each team going out and trying to win it, or was there something in what you or they did that allowed each team to have a number of dangerous opportunities there?
If you look at the changes that were made for us, Daniel Lovitz gave us a terrific 70 minutes. Daniel himself is coming back after obviously that game suspension from a period of time out. I wanted to be, again, sensible with Daniel. He's made some terrific progress, and today's 70 minutes will put him in an even better position for the game against Orlando. It gave me an opportunity to go to a back four, getting Dax into that holding midfield role or deeper midfield role to give us a little bit more maybe continuity and rhythm in the midfield. And I honestly thought the three changes really made a nice impact. There was a big energy boost for a short period there. And ultimately, you know, a couple of the guys combined for one of our best chances, which was a wonderful header back across goal from Dax's, you know, really searching diagonal ball onto Yonder's forehead. You know, I'd love to have seen Aki really dive into that and ask some questions of the goalkeeper, but he obviously felt it wasn't to be. But we had a multitude of attacking players on the field. We were trying to win the game. I think they were happy with a point. They knew that a point was going to take them into the postseason. What ultimately happened though was, as you said, the game opened out. There were some gaps through that midfield area with no free centre backs or lacking that extra centre back. There was a couple of opportunities for them, and that can sometimes be the case, as we know, when you're trying to chase a game. But I really wanted to finish on a positive note. I knew the score in Philadelphia and in New York with the two teams, and I would have loved to have won the last game here for the fans and for the group. So I felt that getting as much talent on the field as we could without losing it didn't quite work out.
We'll wrap up with Steve Cavendish. Go ahead, Steve.
Came out with three at the back. Were you thinking a point is good enough for us, or this is safety first here early and we can change this later if we need to, as you obviously did in the second half?
Not really, no. I was uncertain what they were going to do, but most importantly, I thought the group that went out in Orlando last week slowly but surely showed some really encouraging signs. Instead of playing two genuine midfield players with Alex and Randall, who have given us some terrific moments throughout the season in wider areas, I thought that they'd join the attack and be part of something more positive, as they had done in Orlando last week. The fact that they played a back three wasn't what I expected. They were dominant in the week against an Atlanta group, so there were some differences within the way that they'd set up. I would take that as some respect shown for us at home, you know, trying to match us up. And if you look at the game, barring the what I would call, you know, a very flat and disappointing opening minute, there wasn't an awful lot to choose between the teams in the space of, you know, 35 or 40 minutes, and it was only really Hany's free kick that was anything out of the ordinary for us. I want to win every game, Steve. I don't go into any game thinking that I want a point, especially here. I've gone into games away from home thinking I want to win this, but I definitely don't want to get beat. You know, and there's been plenty of those games against teams that have been chasing us down, DC. You know, we've had multiple away games, Orlando, but I'd like to think that at no point of even the substitutions that I've made given anyone the impression that I'm looking to just batten down the hatches, other than, you know, there are moments in the last 10 minutes or so where you think, okay, we've done our work. I'm not sure there's too much more to get out of this game. Let's make sure that we get something for our efforts. But I think, as I've said earlier on in this interview, our challenge, and I'm looking beyond the playoffs now, for next year, looking at the regular campaign, is how do we maintain the sort of consistency that we've shown, but convert, 3 or 4 of those games into victories, which I think if we sat here now and look back at some of those games, we would all be able to pull games out and say, you know what, should have won there really. You should have got a victory there. Well, that's part of our evolution and development. Last year, I think we were sitting here saying, how are we going to score more goals? How are we going to be more creative? But how are we going to maintain that competitive edge and improve on our league position? Well, we've been able to tick some of those boxes. We'll give our very best in the playoffs, but I'll certainly be thinking about turning those draws into victories for next year.
Gary, thank you. Tim?
Hany, when you're standing over that ball with such a short angle there on the free kick, is it go for goal the whole way, or is there a second thought in your mind about it?
Yeah, I mean, Lovitz asked me, what do you want? And for me it was clear to hit the target and to try to score. I know it was a tight angle, but I practice a lot in training free kicks, and I think, when you get the chance, unfortunately this year we didn't get too many free kicks, so when I have a good possibility to score on a free kick, then I would take the chance, definitely.
Go ahead, Drake.
Hany, when you go up against a team like Red Bulls, where maybe sometimes there isn't much opportunity to get a shot on goal in the run-up play, how important was it for you to feel that you could clinch and get that goal from the free kick, especially because of the way the game was going?
Yeah, it was definitely not the start we wanted with the early goal from Red Bull, but we bounced back, and that's a very important asset we have in our team, and I think we are very strong. We came back from a lot of goals behind, but of course we need to talk in the next 10 days about the start. We started the last games not good, and that's very important. I mean, if we go up 1-0, maybe it would be easier or a better game for us.
Go ahead, Ben, and we'll go to Claudia.
Yeah, Hany, it felt like as the game went on, I mean, you just mentioned the slow start, but it felt like you were able to play through their press a little bit more and start creating. What do you think led to that? Was it just getting more comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, we know that they want to press, but in the end, if we just kick the ball long, then that's exactly what they want and where they're pretty strong, because they're in the second phase better than us. That's their game, and you need to also see that and find solution. And our solution needs to be that we are calm on the ball and that we find the open player, because when you press, there's always an open player, because they try to overload the center, always have pressure on the ball, and maybe with 2 players, so there is always an open player, and that's what we did better after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and I mean, we had good chances. Of course they had chances too, but if I remember my chance second half, the ball from Alex Müller, and I turned, was a bad shot, but could also go our way.
Go ahead.
Hany, how important is it for you to be in the conversation of a most valuable player in the league, being amongst so many good players? And besides that, what is your take about the whole season for yourself as a player in so many areas that you have improved?
Definitely, it's an honor, and of course I take it, and I know that I have to keep going and work harder. I'm 26, I'm not like 36, and I still have a lot of good years in front of me, hopefully, and that's why I try to work hard every day, and I get rewarded for that, and that's how I see the conversation about the MVP. It's an honor, and that's it. And the second thing is, the season went well for me. It's obviously I had a good season, but in the end, you want to win something. That's why we are all soccer players. That's why we trained the whole youth, our whole life. We just trained and trained and trained when other guys went out and had fun. So now is the opportunity to win something, and we need to look forward. We need to prepare ourselves for Orlando. will be a tough game. We know about their strengths. They have DK, they have Nany, they have great players. But yeah, we need to be confident and have a better start, and then I'm very optimistic to have a successful game.
Go ahead, Drake, and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, two-part question for me. The first in relation to the MVP conversation is just the fact when you look at some of the goals recently that you scored and even throughout the season, a lot of those goals have helped your team either get back level or obviously get into a winning position. How do you think about that way, considering the value of those goals that you're scoring? And then of course, going into Orlando, just the fact that you're going into it against a team that you can't necessarily afford to concede first and come from behind. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, right. I'm very happy that I can score and give assist 2 important goals for our team. That's also part of my job. That's why I'm here. That's why they brought me here. The coach said pretty in the beginning last year, I remember, he said like, because I was more a connecting player, I was more a link player, that's how I was before I came here. My strength was more to overload the midfield, to have more passes. In my old club we had a lot of ball possession, and yeah, I was more midfielder. But he said to me, hey Hany, you're here to make decisive things, to decide the games. And I was in the beginning not quite sure like what is he meaning, but then over the time I saw like, hey, you need to do something. You are here to make the difference and to show also your ability and your quality. And that's what I learned also from him, that I'm here to score goals and to give assists. That's my part, and I take it, and that's a great honor and a responsibility, and I feel great and I like that about to make the decisive moment or decisive decisions on the pitch. And yeah, what was the second question?
Just about the fact that, with Orlando, you can't necessarily afford to play from behind and obviously be in that position.
Yeah.
How do you feel about?
Yeah, we just played them 10 days ago or 7 days ago, and we were behind, and it was such a tough game to come back. And they're good with the ball. We know that. We know their strength. We played them, I think, this year 3 times, right? 3 times. Yeah, and we know them perfectly. So we need to prepare ourselves, get focused, and the first 10-15 minutes just dig in and try to don't make mistakes, and maybe we lead, and then it's a totally different game. Then they have to push, and we are very, very dangerous in transition, and that will all play in our cards.
Last question, Tim Sullivan.
You mentioned that chance that you had from Alex towards the end of the game. Gary previously told us that they knew the outcome of the Philadelphia and New York City game, or that it was getting close to becoming final. Did you guys on the field know that a winner would have been a chance to move up to second in the conference? And what was it like kind of searching for that winner late in the game there?
Yeah, I mean, besides from that, we always want to win at home. That's our goal when we go in the game. But yeah, a tie is not a bad result. They're difficult to play. They had a great run the last games. They fought back, and now they're on the 7th place. They deserve that. I know the coach very well from my time in Salzburg, so I talked with him and I congratulate him to a great finish of the season. But yeah, we just need to focus on us, and now it's win or die, and that's I really like that about the US, that you always have the playoffs. It's so interesting. It's just about a game here in football or soccer, and it would be nice for us to just focus and try to win game by game.